Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. My other signal literally froze, like everything. System, computer, everything crashed all at the exact same time. So I am up. I'm going to take the fact that I am up and I'm going to say thank you that I'm up. Alright, let me check my sound. Always check your sound before you kick off your show, because otherwise you could be doing a show, the greatest show ever, and the only person who hear it is you. You and the invisible God. Alright, so I hope everyone is doing okay today. So tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, I am going to have a viewer's choice show. This show is on the spur of the moment, and it's something that one of my subscribers, a gentleman who sends me content all the time, HB, brought to my attention. And I'm in the car driving back. I stopped by one of the places that because I had a card now and it's illegal in DC. And so I was somewhat blitzed. And I'm not driving, I'm sitting in the passenger seat. And I'm looking at this like, oh my God. And I think I sent back, wow. What would be the thing that would get me, while I'm in this kind of cerebral space, to send back, just in this kind of utter amazement? Wow. All caps. You know what I saw? You know the thing that I saw? Yes, I'm holding the suspense. I'm holding it in this kind of gravity and damning suspense. What is it that deserves this much gravity and attention, that demands this much of a lead up to it? Oh, by the way, continue the suspense. Super Chat is off. YouTube has demonetized my entire channel. I have to say this on all my videos. So there's an alternative Super Chat. Click the link in the description box for an alternative Super Chat that would allow you to send via like through PayPal. And you will get a little Star Trek icon that will pop up and dance and shake for you. And different amounts give different Star Trek icons. They're actually pretty cool. They're little gifts. I've spent too much time playing around with the system. So let me get back to my thing, getting out of the capitalistic moment. What was the thing that made me send back wow? I'll show you what made me send back wow. This. Right here. Real Donald Trump's approval rating among black voters, 30%, 29%, might as well say 30%. Last year, 15%. Wow! Wow! Donald Trump's approval rating among blacks jumped. It doubled. It doubled. Understand the climate that we're in. Understand the climate we're in, because I want you to understand the context of the world that I see it. All of the media has been screaming that this man is a monster. Democrats have been howling at the top of their lungs that he's attacking media, that he's attacking government, he's destroying the edifice of government itself. Anderson Cooper fainting on camera, and people saying, oh God, you made Anderson Cooper faint on camera. How dare you, you monster. All across the media sphere. Every last one of them howling at the top of their lungs, at the height of their lungs, that this man is a monster, that this man is treasonous, that this man is destroying America itself. And in that climate, look at this. Doubled. They doubled. Let me add something else. Rasmussen tends to be a more conservative poll. Meaning the people who they're calling, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a hard line. So they're calling voters who are inundated with this television. These are black voters, they're inundated with this television. And despite being inundated with this television, doubled. They're not buying it. They're not buying it. Now, here's the catch. Just because I don't want them to buy it, I don't want them to jump on a Republican bandwagon. That's worse. That's the worst case scenario. But because you're so horrible, because your party, your goddamn Democratic Party, you've joined hands with the media because you're so horrible and you're so valueless, and people can see you for the sham and charade that you are, that you can't even outpace a billionaire. Support for Donald fucking Trump over the course of a year is doubled. That is profound. That is profound. That is utterly sad. You're running up against a reality show host, and you're losing. Do you know his poll rating right now? At least by Rasmussen, again, more conservative poll, but still, in this media climate, it's fundamentally nearly the same as Obama's. They're running like neck and neck. This is Donald Trump. This isn't, this is not a traditional president in the sense of the traditional president where, he, like a Mike Pence in a sense, look like somebody's granddad. The media across the board is against him. His own party, to some respect, at least you could say the Bush wing of the party, is to some degree against him. You have organizations like Clinton's and Bush's joining hands saying that the tone of the politics has this populist whatever, and we need to fight back against, to some degree, the populist left, but also Trump. And the public itself, at least the wheelhouse of the Democratic Party, African Americans, in this case, disagree with their party and give him an approval rating that doubles over the course of a year. My point is very simple in this, and so I'm not going to keep this video completely long. If you can't make the argument to African Americans that you're better off with them than a blue-collar billionaire, you're doing something wrong. I look at that number, and my first reaction was, wow. And then my second reaction, almost immediately, almost instantaneously, right behind it, not split second, was, but yeah, I get it. I asked myself immediately in this kind of headspace, just purely clear, objective, lens is clear, like Jacob Sabati says, a clear lens, headspace. Am I atypical of my brothers? And I don't mean brothers in this case as this kind of like a Star Trek when he's playing Yo Brothers type thing. I mean it from the standpoint of this kind of what's happening brother as a Marvin Gaye thing. Like my kind, people who look like me within this country. Am I that atypical? Probably not. I mean, the same pressures that are on me are probably the same pressures that are on them. We may be in different spaces, different areas, but ultimately, from the standpoint of class, if we are in somewhat of the same class, are we going to be that dramatically atypical? Maybe not. People are different, yes. But from the standpoint of broad, general strokes, do I understand these people that look at Trump and say, okay, maybe he's not horrible? Now, I say that only from the standpoint of, not because Trump is awesome, but it's a comparative thing. What am I getting and what have I gotten out of all of these years of this just complete support, this undying support to this particular party that I've given this complete undying allegiance? I understand that Hillary Clinton has hot sauce in her hot pocket, in her pocket. I have no idea what that has to do with me. What have you gotten for this? Now, the moment that you start asking questions like that, and you say Obama's out there chest thumping, he's out there giving a thumbs up to the millionaire and the billionaires club, and he fucking lost my house. What the hell? And Donald Trump is out here talking about making America great again, and I keep hearing that the numbers, the stock market is high, and I keep hearing that the job number is low. I mean, fuck, man, maybe things are getting better. I mean, they said the unemployment number for African Americans are fucking awesome. Maybe. Now, in their heads, yes, they may think that this is nonsense. Of course, this is utter nonsense. But if your paradigm of the world is only two parties, and you grow up thinking there are only two parties, Republican, Democrat, that's all there is, and there's a blue-collar billionaire in this other party who sounds different, sounds off-kilter, sounds a little bit different than your standard and regular politician, when you look at that situation and say to yourself, well, they keep saying he's different. Maybe he is different. Maybe he is. Not getting anything out of this other arrangement. Maybe this guy's different. Maybe it's different. The problem here is not so much that they're wrong in this. The problem here, they are wrong in moving to Trump. But they're not necessarily wrong for looking at the situation and saying, I don't like the situation. The problem is they don't have another lens to look at it where it would be inclusive of anything other than the two-party dynamic. It is good that these people are able to unmoor themselves from the political space in this way and get over the hedge of saying, okay, we need to consider something else. The problem here is that the only lens by which they look at the world is in this two-party duopoly lens, and so the something else is immediately just fucking Donald Trump. Goddamn Donald Trump. Motherfucker. Why are you so weak? Why are you guys so fucking weak? Are you telling me this most rapacious Republican Party, these guys' knuckles crack on the fucking ground when they walk? And you can't win that debate. You can't win that argument. You've been screaming fucking Russia for 2 years. 2 years! He's been lowering taxes. Do you realize they've got trillions of dollars, and that trillions of dollars is going to be on the back of American workers. These African Americans that are saying that Donald Trump, hey, he's fucking awesome. I mean, what else do I have to compare him to? What else do I have to compare him to? The Democratic Party? Yeah, he may be fucking awesome in comparison to the other people who are screaming Russia. You know what's interesting in this poll? When you get to the poll, you ask people about the Russia stuff. And they get to the point of saying they're not buying the Russia nonsense. The Gallup poll said they're not buying the Russian nonsense. Nobody buys the Russian nonsense. So if nobody buys the Russian nonsense, and the Democrats and the media screams about the Russian nonsense, you can understand that it seems like one side is playing political games. So you even have African fucking Americans who are now saying Donald Trump might not be that bad. Maybe H.A. Goodman is right. Maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe the progressive soapbox doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Trump does win in 2020. You've had a Democratic Party that should have had a cakewalk. Bernie fucking Sanders. You're a goddamn socialist. This is in your wheelhouse. And you should have been punching Trump over and over and over. You're raping the middle class. You're raping your voters, the people who you said you were out there to represent. You're supposed to be fighting for America. You're raping them on the behalf of the wealthy and the plutocrats. I mean, after all, you're a billionaire. You're representing your class just because you talk nasty. That's not the same thing as representation. This is kind of this weird thing that just because you put a black person in office, that black person is supposed to represent interests, or a Mexican, or Hispanic, or an Asian. Hey, we have all of these races that are in the office, and as long as that person is a particular race, that person is going to represent the interests of that race. That's nonsense. Utter nonsense. But whites did the same thing with Trump. I shit you not. Donald Trump spoke a particular way. And just because he spoke a particular way, they took him being gross and over the top for honesty. There's a difference in those things. And just because he talks a particular way doesn't necessarily mean he represents your class interests, because I can assure you it's not. He's putting trillions on your backs. And as he did that, Democrats screamed Russia. As he raped the environment, Democrats screamed Russia. These tariffs, these taxes, for all intents and purposes, those taxes are going to hit us. Now, the question becomes, what is going to be the benefit or the defect? But at the end of the day, they're taxes. I mean, Look, the point I'm making here is you've had the most rapacious Republican in that office. And the worst thing that you could do is go after him with Russia. None of the stuff that matters. You chose the one topic that the public didn't care about. And you hammered that one topic that the public didn't care about. Good job. Here's the catch. They said something about a better deal. And they went around and they put their thumb on the scale in all of these various areas of candidates who have actually tried to implement a better deal. When the public itself tried to correct itself, meaning the party, the public itself started to wake and say, wait a minute, they've lost 1,100 seats. Fuck. This party is, incompetent. We can't allow this party to remain like this. So the public comes up in this kind of natural reaction of failure. This natural reaction that failure brings. We need to change this. And the party itself, with a perspective and point of view that's running contrary to the actual public, decides to go against what the public wants. And puts his thumb on the scale in various areas. This is fucking amazing. This is all after cheating the last guy. They're now doing the same thing all around the United States. Look, I'm making a simple point. Klobuchar comes out and says, shut up about millionaires and billionaires or else I'll shut my pocketbook. This is a billionaire telling elected members, people who are supposed to represent your interests, this one tiny percent, one fucking man telling people who are literally supposed to represent millions of people to not talk about certain things. Are we a democratic country or not? This is a capitalist talking about stuff that is in his primary, in the class best interests. Are we a democratic country or not? Meaning the idea that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer would be browbeat, talked down to, because they have a temerity to bring up policy that may affect actual people in this country, millions of people in this country who actually want the policy. Shut up about policy that people who actually will want and vote for. I'm making this point that the reason they talk about Russia is because the economic sphere is off limits by their donors. By their donors. Hey, we need money to run. Fine, I'll give you money. You better shut the hell up about economic stuff, because if you impact my wallet, I'm going to impact your wallet by not giving you anything. I will fund your opponents, by the way. You don't believe me? Look at what's taking place in Hawaii with the dossiers being written by healthcare companies on people who would or wouldn't support health insurance. Single payer. Look, I'm going to end this. I don't want this to go too far. I'm just saying this is an amazing report by Rasmussen. I understand they go a little bit conservative, but I'm not shocked by that. Garland Nixon, as far as I know, is black. And there's another gentleman that I read, I can't think of his name right now, Theodore Fierk, African American. I am not that atypical. Not that atypical. All right, I'm going to end this here. They talk about Russia because they can't blame Venezuela. That's funny about this. I like that. All right, I'm going to end this. I didn't say his approval was better than Obama. I said it was near his rating. I said near this time, Trump's and Obama's approval rating is near the same. This is among voters, so let's be very clear. This is among voters. Let's be precise. But these numbers are near each other. Total approval, Trump 50%, Obama 45%. Now, again, this is Rasmussen. Rasmussen tend to run conservative. Take it with a grain of salt. Even if those numbers are 2 or 3 points off. Why on earth would Donald Trump ever be near Obama in the polls? Why? Look, Joe, you can be a cheerleader for the Democratic Party all you want. I'm telling you, you're running into problems. Your party is running into problems. You've drunk the Kool-Aid and you're being propagandized to stick your head out the bubble. You might have been one of those people who thought Hillary Clinton was going to win that night. Leave the HuffPost alone, man. I'm just saying. Nobody's saying that he's running gangbusters, but Jesus Christ. Shwari K, are you returning for another one this evening? Yes, I am returning for another one this evening because Bernard Foster. Me and Jamal are trying to grow a respectable beard for 2018. Wish us luck. Oh, dude, we're a little far in 2018. I'm 52 years old, for fuck's sake. I think I know politics by now. Joe, I'm not saying you don't know politics. Jamal is responsible for 5% of the blacks going to Trump. I am not. Oh, dude, you give me too much credit. I know you've been funny, and you give me too much credit. No, fuck no. I feel horrible by that. You have no idea how bad I'd feel about that. Like, because that would mean that they completely misunderstood what I've been saying. Like, my understanding is this is not a binary process. First point. The analysis of one doesn't necessarily change anything for the analysis of the other. There is a such option as neither. And that option neither at sometimes need to be explored, especially if the point is to get anything done. Now, none of that says go to Trump. None of that says go to Trump. That would be fucked up. Jamal would be blamed for the Democrats in 2020, and the Democrats are only responsive. Hey, watch the language, you fucking idiot. I gotta show this one, Joe. This is funny. And be called a Russian boy. That's fine. Jamal, you would feel like the black guy who invented Skynet. Yeah, I would. I'd feel some kind of way about that. The phrase drunk the Kool-Aid is kind of odd. By the time you drunk the Kool-Aid, you're already dead in the cult with no chance of saving. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. All right, I'm going to end this here. I'm going to end this here. I don't want this one to go too long. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through Patreon. I heard Trump is paying Jamal to spread this bullshit. He needs to replace his super chats. No, I don't need to replace my super chats. I have the alternative super chat thing using Streamlabs. So I don't need to do that for that. I don't need to do that for that. God, I don't think it's black folks. You know what, Kim? You know what? Yes and no. Yes, from the standpoint of you need to pry yourself away from this kind of old habit and evaluate the habit for what it is. Meaning, evaluate the candidate for what it is. Like, none of this, I'm black, so I vote Democrat. I used to do this. I'm black. I'm whoever that Democrat is, they get my vote. And I realized that that's a nonsense policy of voting. Your vote is just taken as kind of a automatic. Rich people, companies, they have a profile. They take that profile in that survey, and based on what you say in that survey, they choose to accept or deny you. I'm saying people should do the same. I accept or deny this candidate based on how that candidate reacts to collective engagement. Meaning, are you working for the 1% or are you working for the people who are voting for you? And if you're working for the people who are voting for you, then yeah, you will most likely get my vote. If not, not so much. And I have red lines. Everybody should vote that way. Everybody is not going to have the same red lines, but you get who you get at that point. But we don't vote that way. We vote in the opposite way. We vote in the opposite way. The rich choose their candidates. We choose the least worst. I'm saying that needs to stop. I'm still Bernie or bust. My Trump is way better than my TPP and Mr. NAFTA. Mr. NAFTA. I've sledded Jamal. What? I've sledded Jamal about quite often. He talks sexy to everyone. Don't feel special. What? Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Winky the Bernie bro. Winkle the Bernie bro. I'm sad now. Why are you sad now, Winkle? Are you telling us that Jamal has a new super chat model? Huh? What is that all about? It's not a new super chat model. It's, well, actually, yes. It's yeah. They after they demonetized the channel, Balthazar came up with this idea for Streamlabs, and Streamlabs has this. It's like an alternative. It's like when a super chat or when it comes in, there's a link in the description box. You click the link and it would bring up the thing that's similar to super chat, and a little icon comes up with like Star Trek. It's cool. Balthazar, shout out to Balthazar for that. Thank you very much. My kind of point exactly, Kate. I didn't know either. That's funny. Clinton indicted twice a week. I want to watch. I want to try the new super chat. Hang on, I want to try the new super chat. JT and wife, Little Dream, Whisper Watch. I think things like that are why there may be an uptick in black support. The Democrats are putting all their eggs in a basket. Look, I think it's this. If I'm being honest, African American wealth tanked during Obama's period. Now, Obama didn't create the crisis. First point. By the same token, it wasn't an act of God that created a crisis, nor was it going to be an act of God to not just be a manager over the crisis. I'm not saying that he should have said, I'm going to lift up blacks and I'm going to entirely just fix blacks. That's not what I'm saying. I don't have this thing in my head. That would have never worked. But I do say something like this kind of economic upliftment for everyone. I mean, ultimately, if you make this argument, look, I think when he got elected, I think people thought they were electing Bernie Sanders. That's what I think. And I think they thought he was going to be transformative. Well, in fact, I know they thought he was going to be transformative. They said, oh my God, he's black. Clearly he's going to do something different. And when he didn't do anything different, when banks were protected, after everybody understood that the banks let the thing go bust, they realized they've been had. I mean, to some degree, they looked at it. You had lefties who still had this flame in their heart, like, oh God, he's a lion ready to explode. But at some point, the shackles fell from their eyes and they realized what they had. So yeah, that said, in an odd way, to radicalize the left just based on the behavior of the right, it's such a weird thing. Not to mention, it's like you can imagine, the more stress that's on the society, the more, I don't know, the politics are more divisive. But both parties are captured. This belief that you're going to get some kind of something out of status quo from either party is a fallacy. We need to stop this idea that we have a functioning democracy in the way that a democracy would typically function. We have something where people are representing the rich. People go and vote. Think about this, for the lesser evil. You have candidates who, for all intents and purposes, are functioning for the rich, with the human beings, the people themselves, who they're supposed to be representing, getting the choice of the worst. Choose your least worst. That's what you get a choice of. Least worst. I'm sick of that fucking choice. And this choice of least worst doesn't get you anything but somebody who's kind of shitty, but not as shitty as the other guy. I'm saying, stop making that choice. If both candidates are shitty, then let it burn. Let it burn. If you need to stand in the solidarity of no to make that point clear, then make that point clear. You have the worst case scenario with Donald Trump. It could get worse, but how much worse? If this is your time to reorganize, then this is your time to get your house in order. You have another election coming up in 2020. What I will tell you is, with a Hillary Clinton in this office, I still say you might be in a nuclear war. And if you weren't in a nuclear war, if she loses, goddamn, what would she lose to? What would she have lost to? People never go with this idea of why Trump is in office. They act like we fell off a cliff. It is the most annoying thing in the world to talk to Democrats at this point. I have an easier time talking to Trump supporters than Democrats. I mean, it's the weirdest fucking thing on the planet. It's so fucking bizarre. I think part of it is the left realized that it was something different. I think they looked at Obama era and they said there were many similarities with Bush. And because there were many similarities with Bush, the left acknowledged the similarities. The Democrats didn't. And right on the bat, you have a distinction between those things. Well, clearly I can see a distinction. No, I'm not a Republican, but I clearly see a distinction here. Well, that distinction looks like a new party to me. Now, Democrats don't want to call it that because they realize right off the bat they would probably lose and drain away support the moment that you had something else that was something distinctive from themselves. Even if it's something distinctive within the party itself that starts to take on the majority of, you can say, the prevailing wisdom or the prevailing wind. You have some that believe they can take over the ship. I don't know if they can do that. I say vote for the person who represents your interests. And action outside of the political process to push the process. Like, God, man, I feel like we missed such an opportunity. Occupy Wall Street. It makes me more aggravated at Obama over this, if I'm being honest. Like, you had Occupy Wall Street. You had all of these people in this upheaval of support of this needs to change. That's what you had. Now, if that's not pushing the system, I don't know what is. And with something like that, what does a president say? What does a president get out there and do? Says, God, we got to do something about these protests. There's a calling out there that we need to do something. The government needs to do something. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to get behind this particular thing. You would have activated all of those hippies out there with their bangos and all this other stuff. You would have activated all those people. They were already active. They were already out there. They just didn't know what the fuck to do. Like, it's this thing of people, this frenetic energy of we want to do something. We don't like the way this is. This world can be a different place. That's what we are. Okay, now what? We have no idea. But that's the way we are. So we're out here freaking out and occupying Wall Street. That's what we're doing. And you have a community organizer who just so happens to get into the presidency, who breaks it up, takes the edifice of the state, and breaks up that popular movement, or at the very least assists in the breaking up of that popular movement, as opposed to using that movement to do some magnificent fucking things. God, that's a missed opportunity. Let's see. Too late. They're on their way. Winkle the Bernie bro says, I'm Norwegian, so. He said I'm Norwegian. Joe, no, Joe, it's not. Here's the thing, Joe. The rest of the world, nobody else cares. Like, I guess it's hard to get that point across. Like, I'm not shocked to believe that a country would try to influence another election. That doesn't necessarily blow me away. The United States does it all the time. And because the United States does it all the time, I'm stuck with this thing of not caring. Now, I would wager to you that the rest of the world doesn't care either. Nobody cares. This is a phenomenon among Democrats and a phenomenon within the United States. But nobody else cares. I promise you, nobody cares. They would think you're insane if you even bring it up. Like, we've attacked Congress. Like the CIA was spying, or the NSA was even spying on Congress. What's his name? Went to Congress and lied about this stuff. I don't think you realize the amount of influence that we have using our spying apparatus from the standpoint of looking at, invading, toppling, or instigating affairs in other nations. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. It makes no sense. France cares because Russia did. No, France did not. They did not. Look at the papers for that. I understand that's a Rachel Maddow thing. But look at the actual evidence for that, and you would see that they didn't have evidence for that. They didn't have evidence for that. Germany, same thing. They kept saying Germany was going to have all of this Russia stuff, and they were like, hey, why didn't we have any kind of Russian meddling in our elections? This is this kind of coordinated campaign against Russia from NATO nations. I'm not buying it. And not just not buying it. I even give you this idea of, even if what you say is true, Crimea River. Crimea River. Sanders wasted so much political capital at this point. I'm not sure he could beat Trump if he was somehow to run in the general. No, I still think he could beat him. Jamal, as part of the FBI NSA structure, we don't actively cyber attack rivals like China and Russia. Joe, I'm not saying I completely out and disbelieve you, but I do think, not just think, WikiLeaks has released documents showing that the United States was instigating itself into the foreign and French elections. Are you saying WikiLeaks was lying on this? And the answer is no, they weren't lying. They weren't lying. And not just weren't lying, we've taken down governments. Like, this is the part where you lose me. It's Iraq was a real government. It was a real government. Guatemala, Chile, all of these were real governments. Iraq or Iran were real governments. I'm making the point to you that the argument that's being made here is that a spear phishing of John Podesta. Like, come on. Like, this is what I'm getting at. You're saying that releasing information that was factually true about Hillary Clinton cheating Bernie Sanders was an attack on democracy. Her releasing information showing that the Democratic Party was cheating another candidate was an attack on democracy. That's an amazing fucking leap of the shark. And not just that, again, this thing where the United States has done this to other nations. So, no, I'm not. Cry me a river. Do you want some wine with that cheese? Yeah, Libya was a real government. And friends with British families, all this stuff. The back-loading block is vital. If enough people swing the Trump, Sanders would lose. That part is true. That part is true. Look, the Democratic brand has been trashed. And you know how I know? Because I used to vote Democrat down ballot. Easy. First guy, D beside, I don't know who the fuck this guy is. He has a D. Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's do this. Kick some ass. Let's save democracy. And I realized in the last election that I went to, I couldn't vote for the Democrat. I was repulsed. And not just repulsed. I ended up voting for the Libertarian. Fucking amazing. It was exhilarating. I was shocked by the experience. Now, I say that not because I necessarily wanted that asshole to win, but I didn't have another vote. And I didn't want to write a vote in, and I wanted my vote to be an account for something. But I was repulsed by the name. Ocasio-Cortez, running as a Democrat, is a headwind for me, believe it or not. Part of the reason I didn't say anything about her beforehand was because, again, her having a D beside her name, regardless of her calling herself a democratic socialist, is a headwind. Meaning, it's an obstacle for me to get to the point of saying, yes, I would vote for that person if I could, or I would support that person. That's how I know. This is not something where I had to intellectually think about it, and I sit down and it's like, you know what? Yeah, this is tough for me to do. No, it's this kind of emotional thing that kind of prods me along of saying, you know, where I actually engage it and I realize, hey, at some point, you used to instinctually vote Democrat, and now you instinctually are repulsed by even the letter. Hey, something has changed. Now, again, I say that to say, I don't think I'm atypical. If you're growing up, let's say you're in your 30s or something, let's say you love Sanders, and let's say there was a whole generation of youth that loved him, and they know that you cheated him. What would they think? What would they think? Would they be so quick to go back to the Democratic Party? And again, if their paradigm of the world with two parties, would that lead them to some degree to Trump? God, I hope not. But is that beyond the bounds of thinking? No. Trump is not a better scenario. What I would agree with H.A. Goodman on is this thing of using Godzilla to bash the shit out of King Kong. Now, the fact is, even after Godzilla bashes the shit out of King Kong, you're still left with goddamn Godzilla, which is why I don't particularly like this idea. But that being said, it does create this kind of interregnum from the standpoint of what does the Democratic Party stand for? And even though the Democratic Party has assiduously fought even talking about this. They haven't had a choice but to do it. Like, the conversation is still, to some degree, being had by the fact that they're terrified of Ocasio-Cortez. She's like only person who's beating somebody who's in a big league. Meaning they, for the most part, if there's a blue wave, they've kept their status quo. But the problem is that you've had these ideas that have been springing up in the party, talking about Medicare for all and everything else, where they've had to deal with and back down, and the capitalists like Nancy Pelosi has at the very least had to talk about this shit. I don't know if these guys are going to get any traction in the Democratic Party. I don't know if Sanders is going to be able to push things to the left, especially if Sanders loses. No clue. No clue. I would say this. If Sanders runs in 2020 and he loses, oh man. Like, in two ways. If he loses in the primaries, I have no idea what takes place from the standpoint of this. It evaporates. If he doesn't lose in the primaries, if he exceeds the primaries, and if he loses to Trump, oh fuck. Oh fuck. Jimmy Dore would shoot himself on camera. Man. Fuck. Oh God. Man. The Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, would jump off of a fucking cliff if that happened. Jesus fucking Christ. That would be so brutal, man. Oh, that would be brutal. That would be brutal. You would have every corporatist Democrat screaming, "We told you! We told you it was going to lose! We told you it was going to lose!" Because right now, every Bernie supporter has this one saving grace. This flame, this thing that's in them, that was in them from day one, that burns in them right now. And when they deal with a Hillary supporter, that gives them a sense of pride that even if they're 4 foot tall, they're somehow standing above any Hillary supporter that they're dealing with. And it says, Bernie would have won. Bernie would have won. They know it. They know it, flesh to bone. They know it. They know it. They wake up in the morning and they know it. They go to sleep at night and they know it. They know it at 3 a.m. if they were asked by their God, Bernie would have won. And if Sanders loses, a rise in suicides. A rise in suicides. Oh God, it would hurt. It would hurt. Fuck, that would hurt. God, that would fucking hurt. Yeah, I jump off of a bridge. You won't be alone, man. I might be right there with you, live streaming it. Just jump, just with the camera. Oh man, that would hurt. That would hurt. God, that would hurt. That would be so brutal, man. I would have no frame of reference to process that. I have no frame of reference. Zero frame of reference. That's terrifying. I don't even want to think about that. I don't even want to think about that. Jesse Ventura 2020, begging for the planet. Trump is tweeting insults to LeBron right now. Are you serious? God, he's an animal. God, he's a fucking animal. You know, the thing I did like about Obama, he didn't do shit like that. He didn't do shit like that. He acted like a goddamn president. I'm not against a president acting like a president. All right. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through Patreon. Yeah, man, I jump off a goddamn building an hour, live stream it. Through the live stream that shit. That would hurt. God, that would hurt. Like, I don't know how bad it is for the Clinton supporters to lose. Like, I saw someone come out just completely shattered. It was the funniest shit you ever seen in your life. I know I'm a horrible person for saying that, but there was something in me that slightly smiled when George Sheridan was asking those Hillary supporters what happened. What happened? What happened? And he just broke down in tears. Jordan just asked the next question. Did you think she was going to lose this badly? He didn't do that. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. Did you think she was going to lose this badly? I mean, fuck. Look how bad she lost. She lost Wisconsin. The president hasn't lost Wisconsin in God knows how long. She's just standing there crying, just weeping. Okay, so you're not going to answer that. I mean, you're being somewhat evasive here with these tears. You're being somewhat evasive here. Oh, Joe, I'm laughing at Joe. I'm sorry. Joe Treviso, I'm laughing at Joe. All right. I'm hitting this. Joe's about to get abusive. Don't get abusive, Joe. Don't get abusive. Yeah, he's about to get abusive. All right, I'm about to end this. I might have another one coming up. Streamlab only uses PayPal. Yeah, unfortunately, I only use PayPal. It's a constraint. Fucking YouTube taking down my super chat. All right, I'm ending this here, guys. All right, if you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and Patreon. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Who is that Joe's going to put us on the list?